Right. Oh yeah, no. How you doing?
We're very excited about that. As America celebrates its 250th anniversary, we know the founding principles of our country have inspired people around the world to demand their governments recognize their God-given rights and liberties. That was true on this day 37 years ago in Tiananmen Square, where tens of thousands of innocent Chinese people dreaming of a better life for them gathered to seek freedom and democracy. They carried with them a belief that all are created equal, with the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Sadly, the Chinese Communist Party does not share that belief. It denies these rights to its citizens because it's weak and scared. Its broken ideology believes free expression must be oppressed. It does not have confidence in its ideas. It denies the existence of faith, and it censors the truth. Even today, its leaders look at the prosperous and free lives of Americans and Western nations, and they actively decide to punish their own people with oppression, genocide, and censorship. The CCP crushes dissent at home and chases courageous activists abroad, using transnational repression to harass and intimidate those who speak out against Xi and his failures. It's on the wrong side of history, and it will be remembered for its massacres, its tyranny, and its oppression. Literally translated, Tiananmen means heavenly gate. But on this day in 1989, the CCP turned the heavenly gate into a hell on earth. Tiananmen is now synonymous with the massacre of innocent people who wanted freedom. The entourage image, one the CCP couldn't censor, is a man courageously standing before the tanks, firm in his belief in liberty. Even though the CCP censors history and tries to cover up its crimes, we know innocent lives perished that day. They were slaughtered for believing in the values all of us here know to be true. Our special guests today, Arthur Liu and Yan Shang, lived this history in 1989. Yan Shang studied law in Beijing in 1989 when he led student protests at Tiananmen. He was arrested by the CCP and held in a maximum security prison for 19 months. Sneaking out of mainland China in 1992 with the help of Operation Yellowbird, he made it to British-controlled Hong Kong and then on to America, where he was granted political asylum. He later served as a chaplain in the United States Army, serving alongside brave men and women who shared his belief that our freedoms are worth fighting for. A few years ago, when he ran for office, the CCP targeted him once again, threatening him and his campaign. The very idea of his campaign was a threat to the CCP and its belief that the Chinese people do not deserve freedom and democracy. Arthur Liu also led protests in China in June of 1989. He led protests and hunger strikes in southern China, and his activism earned him a spot on the CCP's most wanted list. He had to flee the country, again with the help of Operation Yellowbird, and he also made it to Hong Kong. From there, he came to America, where he rebuilt his life and raised his children. Decades later, though, the CCP would not let him live in peace. In a story that is all too common in our country, the CCP took advantage of our free and open society to travel around our country and target the Chinese diaspora community. In 2022, the Department of Justice charged 5 people with targeting Arthur, Yan, and other pro-democracy leaders living here in America. This transnational repression is a trademark of the CCP, and it uses its relentlessly to target courageous individuals, including those who are here with us today, who continue to speak out about the CCP's abuses. Arthur has refused to back down. I want to say that again. Arthur has refused to back down. And earlier this year, his story of challenging the CCP was shared with millions of people around the globe when his daughter skated into the history books as an Olympic champion for Team USA. Arthur, Yen, and countless others have carried the spirit of the martyrs of Tiananmen forward through the years, and they never give up the dream that one day the people of China will be able to enjoy their God-given rights, living in freedom and liberty. With that, I will now turn it over to Arthur for his remarks.
I'm very happy to be here today. This is a historic day, and it comes with sadness and anger because thousands of people, innocent students and civilians, they were both massacred on June 1st, 1989 in Tiananmen Square. I was one of the most wanted students in southern China after the massacre, and then I was able to escape China to Hong Kong with the Operation Yellowbird in July 1989. So I was very fortunate, and I came to America as a political refugee, and I restarted my life in the United States. In about 2016, 2017, my daughter Alisa Liu was a rising star in American figure skating, and it was very clear in 2021 that she was going to represent the United States of America in the 2022 Winter Olympic Games in Beijing. And that's when the Chinese government targeted me and also her. The reason why her? Because she posted news reports of the labor camps and the persecution of the Uyghurs in China in 2018 on her Instagram. She was only like 11, 12 years old. I did a very good job educating her about the lack of democracy and human rights in China, and she also spoke up using her platform on Instagram to spread the news of the persecution of the Uyghurs in China. She was only 11, 12, and that's 4-5 years later, back in 2021, and the Chinese government never forgot about her. And so in the late 2021, I got a phone call from somebody who claimed to be an official from the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee. And he said he was conducting pre-travel preparedness for international athletes. And he wanted me to fax my passport information and also Alisa's passport information to him. And I told him I would do it the next day, but I never did. I just felt that was suspicious because the U.S. government or the U.S. figure skating never asked for passports that way. And a few days later, an FBI agent called me and asked to meet with me. And I met them, 3 of them, which is, according to them, unusual because normally FBI agents just travel 2 at a time. And the 3 of them came. And they informed me there was already a spy in the San Francisco Bay Area targeting me and also Alisa. He was there to collect passport information to track me, my daily activities, to put a tracker, GPS tracker on my car. And they just told me, watch out for your surroundings. And I was telling myself, you know what, I will, but at the same time, I'm in the open. And they are in the hiding. And I wouldn't know who was targeting me. So I just let it go. Because I've lived in this country for so many years, and I know the Chinese government will not stop harassing me. Another reason is, after I came to America, I organized many demonstrations in front of the Chinese consulate in San Francisco, and also here in front of the Chinese embassy in Washington, D.C. So it's understandable from their perspective that they are afraid that if I go to Beijing during the Olympic Games, I might speak up against them for their continuous human rights violations. And the FBI was going to arrest them right there and then. And I said, please wait until Alisa comes back from the Olympic Games. And they indeed waited. Alisa came back in February 2022, and those people were arrested and charged in March 2022. So I thank the FBI, I thank the American government who provided extra security for Alisa during the Olympic Games. She was accompanied by at least 2 adults throughout the event at all times. So I was worried, to be honest, as a father, to send her to China, to be under the nose and the control of the Chinese government. I was very fearful for her safety, because you never know what the Chinese government would do to her. So thankfully she came back safe. And last week, the transnational oppression did not stop in 2022. It continues to today. Last week in Los Angeles, the June 4th Museum was sabotaged with graffiti everywhere inside the museum. So we can see the transnational repression continues until today. So we have a lot of work to do. I'm so happy to see you all today, because you did not forget June 4th, and we should never forget June 4th. We should never forget the thousands of people who were massacred on June 4th in Tiananmen Square in Beijing, and all those people who are injured, and those people who are in prison, still in prison today. Wang Binzhang has been in prison in China for over 20 years. And Jimmy Lai was just sentenced to 20 years of imprisonment. He is almost 80 years old. That's a life sentence. I really hope that we all who are in this free society speak up for them. Thank you so much.
I just want to also recognize Jimmy Lai's daughter, Claire, is with us today. Yeah, come on up, Claire.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Ladies and gentlemen. Honorable Congressman, Mr. Chairman, ranking members, members of Select Committee on China. Thank you for inviting me here. I'm Chaplain Major Yan Xiong retired, served in the U.S. Army after 27 years, now I'm back home. Media, friends, 37 years ago, in the spring of 1989, students, workers, intellectuals, and ordinary citizens gathered in Tiananmen Square. They came with courage, hope, and conscience. They believed truth mattered. They believed freedom mattered. They believed human dignity was sacrificed. Many of them died. Today, we remember them. We remember the students in the square, the workers in the street. We remember the parents who never saw their children back home. We remember the mothers who still mourn. We remember those who were in prison, exiled, silenced, and erased. But Tiananmen is not only a Chinese tragedy, it is a warning to the world. During the Cold War, the communist totalitarian world and the free world were in many ways evenly matched in power. They had tanks, they had missiles, they had armies, but they did not have a moral authority. They could not speak convincingly about democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. The free world held that ground. But today, the danger is different. Authoritarian rulers now have money. They have technology, they have military power, they have a global influence. And now they try to steal the language of freedom. They mock and insult democracy, they mock and insult human rights, they mock and insult human dignity. They say, look at us, we have a theoretical self-confidence. We have institutional self-confidence. Our system works. We can build a wealth without liberty. We can create order without freedom. We can create power without conscience. This is dangerous. We must be vigilant. The free world is losing its voice. When Tiananmen has only tanks, we can see it. When Tiananmen has the money, technology, propaganda, and a beautiful language, it becomes harder to see. But the nature of Tiananmen has not changed. It still feels the truth. It still feels the memory. It still feels the conscience. It still feels free people. So today, authoritarian repression no longer stops at the national borders. Through the internet, through surveillance, through intimidation, and through the opening of a free society, it reaches far beyond China. It reaches students on American campuses. It reaches the religious group. It reaches scholars and journalists. It reaches families overseas. It reaches dissidents who thought they were safe. Sometimes the threat is not a tank. It's a phone call, a message, a camera outside of a meeting, a warning sent to a family member back home, a shadow behind the free people's speech. This is a transnational repression, and it is real. I have a list of victims. Some of them are Falun Gong practitioners. And another case is Mr. Li Chuanliang, of course including myself. The great American Republic must not become a place where foreign authoritarian powers make people afraid to speak. Today, we need a freedom from a fear. That is why the United States must take this threat seriously. It must protect the human rights advocates, dissidents, students, journalists, religious groups, and ordinary people who speak the truth. Today, we commemorate the 37th anniversary of the Tiananmen Democratic Movement and the June 4th massacre. We do this to defend universal values, to defend the truth, to defend memory, to defend human dignity. We do this so America may remain the beacon of the free world. And the Chinese people are not a Chinese Communist Party. Chinese civilization is older, deeper, and more humane than any one-party state. The longing for freedom is not foreign to China. The longing for justice is not foreign to China. The longing for human dignity is not foreign to China. It is deeply human. 37 years later, the voices of Tiananmen still speak. The dead still speak. The mothers still speak. Exile still speak. Conscious still speak. And if we remember, Tiananmen is not over. Thank you. God bless America. God bless Taiwan, Hong Kong, Ukraine, and God bless also the Chinese people. Thank you all. Thank you very much. Thank you all. After. Good job, man.
My name is Eduardo Nakayama, member of the Senate of Paraguay and member of IPAC, the Interparliamentary Alliance of China, with my colleagues here. Good morning, everybody, Mr. Chairman. Today, we commemorate one of the most brutal crimes of the 20th century, Tiananmen Massacre. 37 years ago, thousands of young Chinese come together peacefully in Tiananmen Square to demand freedom, democracy, and dignity. Facing the giant portrait of Mao, they raised the goodness of democracy with empty hands but hearts full of hope. While in 1989 the Berlin Wall fell and Europe celebrated a wave of freedom, in China, the communist regime responded with tanks and bullets. One of the night of June 4th, the army opened fire on its own people. Hundreds, probably thousands, were killed. As the English liberal philosopher John Locke taught us, whoever uses force without right against the people puts himself in a state of war with them and loses all legitimate authority. But the sacrifice was not in vain. That night, they lit a flame that no wall or censorship has been able to extinguish. Tiananmen is not longer just Chinese history. It has become the universal symbol of humanity's struggle against oppression and authoritarianism. Today, that same struggle continues in Tibet, among the Uyghurs, in Hong Kong, and in every corner of the world where the voice of the people is silenced. That is why we say with strength and conviction, we do not forget. May the light of Tiananmen illuminate the path toward a freer world. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you to the honored guests who are here. I have 3 points. First of all, I'd like to show you this. This is the picture of courage. This is Tank Man, a man who stood before a tank in support of freedom. He merely wanted to do what every human being is entitled to do. Speak his mind, be able to associate with others, be able to criticize his or her own government, and enjoy basic human rights. My second point, this is what China wants you to remember about June 4th, 1989. Nothing. Nothing. If you go to DeepSeek and you ask, please tell me about Tiananmen Square, it comes back saying, let us please talk about math. No, we are not going to forget. And that comes to my third and final point. Tank Man represents courage, but he represents freedom. And today we're going to remember Tank Man because of the qualities that he embodied, but all the people at that protest, at that massacre embodied. Why? Because there are people today who are continually repressed in China. I'm talking about Tibetans. I'm talking about Hong Kongers. I'm talking about Uyghurs. I'm talking about all dissidents. And we will not forget them, just as we do not forget Tank Man. So thank you so much for your attention, and God bless all of you.
Aloha everyone. Mahalo Chair Molinar, former ranking member Krishnamurthy, and for all brave attendees here today. I'm Congresswoman Jill Tokuda from Hawaii's 2nd Congressional District. Today we remember the courage of students, workers, everyday citizens who gathered in Tiananmen Square 37 years ago to demand something very simple yet powerful: the freedom to speak, to think, and to be heard. We honor those who stood before tanks armed with nothing more than hope, conviction, and a belief that their voices mattered. And we remember those whose lives were cut short because an authoritarian government viewed free thought as a national threat. Tiananmen Square is not just a chapter in China's history. It is a cautionary tale, a warning to every single society across the globe. It reminds us that freedom does not disappear all at once. It erodes when governments decide what ideas are acceptable and which ones are forbidden. It weakens when political leaders dictate what can be taught in our classrooms, what belongs in our history books, and which voices deserve a platform. It fades when people become afraid to ask questions, to challenge authority, or to express unpopular views. Our universities in America, China, across our country, our world, universities must remain places where ideas are tested, debated, and challenged, not controlled. The answer to speech we disagree with is not censorship. It's more speech, it's more inquiry, it's more debate, it's more engagement. Democracy is not defined by agreement. It is defined by our willingness to defend the rights of others, to think, to speak, and to disagree. In my home state of Hawaii and across America, we have a responsibility to protect those freedoms, not because they are easy, but because history teaches us the terrifying speed at which they can be lost. The students, the workers, the scholars, the everyday people of Tiananmen, they stood for the simple belief that their voices mattered. Our challenge today, in this moment we are in, is to prove through our actions and not just our words, that freedom of thought and expression will always have a home here in America. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you all for attending.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah. 我不晓得为什么，刚刚的伤败有很多了，我就算了，就做个 stand up，拍一些。